We are live.
Woohoo!
Okay. It's been a while since we've done this.
Yes, a long time.
So I guess we will just sit here for a minute and we will wait to see if anybody joins us. Oh my goodness. I was totally expecting to get a video out and do posts and all of that stuff like a week ahead, and then I woke up one day and went, "Oh, I didn't do that yet."
Today's the day. Ah!
Well, I had done one, I don't remember, last week sometime, but it was like a lot later than I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm hoping some people show up today, even though it's unexpected and ill-planned as usual.
Well, they can come back and watch it later if they find it later too. So,
True.
yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and do our intro while we're waiting for everybody to show up. And I gotta find it because it's been a while. Alrighty, guys. Here's the intro.
Welcome to Umbrella Rebellion. I'm Marcy.
And I'm Dee.
We are finding healing after leaving a cult.
We will be discussing abuse and personal experience with the ATI, IBLP, and fundamental churches.
Trigger warning. This podcast may contain descriptions of various forms of abuse. Please take care for your safety and well-being while you are listening.
If the content becomes too much for you to handle, please turn this off. We hope to expose harmful teachings that lead to and justify abuse,
with the hope that those that are experiencing abuse can find support and escape from it.
Can you believe that intro was done like a couple years ago?
I cannot believe it's been that long.
Oh, hey, Michelle. Michelle is here.
Yay,
It's so good to see you. I'm so glad you could make it. Oh my goodness. So it is June and it is Pride Month, and we're going to be talking about the word pride. So Michelle, tell us, how do you feel now that you've been out of the cult for a while and have experienced life outside of the cult? What are your thoughts about the word pride now? I can tell you that was one of the hardest concepts, words, being able to even say the word pride was super hard for me when I first got out. And now, I mean, it's kind of like part of my thing, right? Like at the end, I try to make sure I let everybody know how proud I am of y'all, because that's just something that we weren't allowed to feel. Mm-mm. And we weren't allowed to really share or experience or even say. It was like one of those taboo words. It's such a weird word to have taboo, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Marcy, what was your experience with that word? And
I would say it was very similar to yours. I mean, it was kind of a taboo word. You weren't supposed to be prideful in any way, shape, or form. And if you did have reason to take pride in anything, like an accomplishment or something, you were supposed to put yourself down about it or downplay it, or, oh, see, it's really nothing, be humble about it, humble meant don't take
credit for it.
Don't take credit for it. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So also along the lines, well, if God did it all, then you shouldn't, if you didn't do any part of that, then yeah.
Like all glory to God, even if it was something that is minuscule and not in the grand scheme of things, really oh my God, we have to worship God about this thing, I tied my shoes when I was 3. Oh, let's give the glory to God, stupid things like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, small stuff.
That's what I can remember, when my kids were little, having those conversations of, instilling too much pride in them by congratulating them for doing small things. And, I had kids on the spectrum. So sometimes those small things were really big for them.
Yes.
And if I felt like if I didn't celebrate those things, they wouldn't have the incentive to keep trying more new things. That was kind of my thoughts on it.
Yes, I also have one on the spectrum, and those small things are huge wins for them. And also, spectrum comes with a whole load of shame just naturally programmed in. You have to give praise where you can give praise, just to keep their self-esteem about, where it needs to be. So,
Right. And that's the other thing.
mhm,
It's like pride is such connected to your self-esteem,
mhm,
and not allowing us to, experience the sense of pride was definitely hindering our ability to have a self-esteem,
mhm.
as children, and sometimes even, definitely as adults, right?
Right. And if you don't have self-esteem, you can't trust yourself to do anything, and therefore can't think for yourself, and are very easily swayed.
It is so crazy how one little word is
Hmm.
so tied into like all the facets of what this cult did to us, right?
Mm-hmm. And don't think for
Ah,
yourself. Oh,
it's
yes,
crazy.
it is crazy.
So Michelle Joy says, pride means many things to me now. It makes my entire heart explode when someone says they are proud of me. Aw. Also, when June is here, it means a celebration of my new community of LGBTQIA plus family. Oh, that is
Okay.
amazing. Congratulations. And I mean, last year or 2 years ago, I don't even remember, I had shared my, coming out story, that I was part of the community as well. So, yeah, I love it. I love being able to celebrate that with fellow cult survivors. She also says, more recently, it also means being proud of myself. I try to tell myself that I'm proud of me every day. Yes, to everything you're saying, self esteem is huge. And, it's like when we've been denied, you know, the ability to celebrate even things that were worthy, big things, little things, accomplishments of any type, like I know a lot of us, or I should say not a lot of us, a lot of y'all, because I didn't grow up in it. A lot of y'all were like into music and instruments, and y'all would have recitals, and it's like y'all really weren't able to really feel the fullness of those successes and those accomplishments because you couldn't give yourself the praise that you deserved. And it's so crazy how all of that just gets into the psyche and into your mind and twists things and makes you feel some ways.
And it stays for so long, because I still, I think somebody told me that they were proud of me the other day at a family event or something like that, and my heart still went, like, mm, because that was what I was trained to do for so long. And then I had to step back and say, wait a minute. Thank you. Thank you. You're right.
Right? I should be proud. Thank you.
Yes. I have worked hard. I have worked very hard.
Right?
Thank you.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I know. And it's just like when, like, as a single parent, and we're both not single parents anymore, but we both struggled through that. And being able to do some really big things on our own as a single
Mhm.
parent, and doing things that people told us we could never do as a
Yes.
woman,
Yes.
and feeling that sense of pride about those things was so good for me as a single mom and as a woman. And it helped me stand on my feet even stronger
Mhm.
when I started allowing myself to feel good about my accomplishments instead of being like, oh, it's nothing. Oh, it's because of God. God gave me the opportunity. God did this. God did that. And it's like, no, I did that shit. That was fucking hard.
Yes. It was hard. Yes. Agreed. And even a step further, like you can think it in your head. Like that's almost like the first step that you have to go through, is to think it in your head and tell yourself
Yeah.
those things. And then the second step is to be able to accept it from somebody else, or be able to speak it. Like it was really hard for me to speak it to other people too, and say, no, I'm really proud of myself for doing this, and I am able, confidently state, I am able to do this, or I am absolutely worthy of this, because it also connected to my worthiness, because
Right.
self-esteem and all of that. And to say it out loud sounded really prideful, and my old self said, "Ooh, that sounds really prideful. When you say that, you really shouldn't say that. Don't." But it also felt good to say it. Like, no, I know what I'm talking about. This is
So it's a constant struggle of
Mhm.
dismissing the old things that we were taught that were wrong, and accepting that we can accept new thoughts, right? And it's almost like when I'm trying to think of an analogy that would like God, there's so many cult things in my head right now that I'm thinking, and I'm like, no, I don't want to talk about that. Nope, that analogy is from the old things, the old cult, But like, even like if you were taught something, how to do a certain thing as a kid, like in a certain steps and certain like loading the dishwasher, right? Like some people load the dishwasher all kinds of crazy, willy-nilly, and they just throw stuff in it, right?
Yes.
And some people, they have a certain place where certain things go, and nobody can put those things anywhere else, or it just doesn't work right.
I'm the willy-nilly one. My husband is the one that has a place for everything. He loads the dishwasher.
If it fits, it washes, it's fine, right?
Yes, as long as it's getting clean, I really don't care. As long as it's in there.
So yeah, so when you have, like a new dishwasher, and you haven't established a system yet, and you're trying to figure out where the things fit to be able to fit everything in the dishwasher, it's kind of like that. You're trying to figure out, like, okay, is this okay? Will this work? If I put this here, and so it's like almost like a step-by-step reconstruction of your thoughts in a moment where it could get really confusing.
Yes, and messy.
Yes, yes.
Because you might try something and it doesn't work, or you just gotta. It's a learning process for sure.
And then, like, being okay with failure kind of goes along with that, right?
Oh yes.
Right? Like,
yes.
You can be proud of yourself for accomplishing something, but you can also be proud of yourself for trying something new and failing at it, and being okay with failure, because that's a whole different different layer of cult thinking, right?
That is a whole nother ball game. Because for the longest time I wouldn't try things because I was gonna fail, and we couldn't fail. You couldn't. So you had to be, and also just I recently am 99.9% sure I'm ADHD, so I'm naturally going to be perfectionist about this. Some things, even though it's almost impossible for me to be perfect, like to keep things orderly, even any semblance of maybe orderliness. So I've got two things going for that. Yeah, and I had to be able to forgive myself for not being perfect, or having to try over and over and over and over again. And I don't remember. I know there were multiple quotes, and I can't think of them now, but there were multiple quotes when I was coming out of it that really helped me say it's okay for me to try again, start a new day. And now I tell my girls that, okay, so you made a mistake, we had a problem, we had a meltdown, whatever, but we can try again tomorrow. So.
Yeah, and I mean that's so true. Like, everything felt very permanent in the cult, because it was always associated with some kind of failure of yourself. Like, it was either you did something wrong, you made a bad decision, you were sinning, and so you opened yourself up. So like anything that happened negatively was always associated with attacking your character almost.
Yeah.
And your ability to make good decisions, and failure was sin. And so that was another thing that was really, really hard. And to accept, like, it's okay if I fail, like, and as another person with ADHD, failure happened often.
It still does all the time. Like, I tell my husband all the time, I am not adulting today. I can't adult. Like, I just am not functioning well at all. Yes. So
For sure. Okay, so Michelle says, I find I have a hard time accepting when someone says they're proud of me for doing certain things more than others. Like, I'm proud of myself for a lot of things, but when it comes to skills like music and such, I have a really hard time accepting the praise. How do you guys handle that? Like, not deflecting praise like we were taught. Yeah, funny. I also have ADHD. I think a lot of us do, girl.
I think a lot of us do. Yes.
So I honestly think it's almost like retraining your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets easier with time. And, you know, like when someone comes to you and says, "Oh, I'm really proud of you for doing that," or "You did a great job," or "Man, that was beautiful. You sung, you played, whatever, really, really great." Just taking a time to like go, okay, like what they are saying is true because they're sharing with me from their heart, right? Like, not well, first you have to like trust what the person is saying, right? And they're not just giving you lip service, because a lot of times we feel that way because in the cult, everything was fake, right?
Yes.
So if someone outside of the cult is telling you that, chances are it's true and they're not just giving you lip service. And I guess coming to accept that maybe what they're saying is a reflection of all of the hard work that you've put in your music and your singing, you know, um and getting comfortable with hearing those words. And it takes time, and it's not something that happens in a year or 3. And like Marcy said, recently, you know, we've
Like
both
last
been
weekend.
out for years,
Yeah.
right? And we still have moments where we struggle with the old thought pattern coming up, like I shouldn't be okay with hearing this, right? And it's just kind of going through a checklist of they appreciate what I did at, you know, at a minimum, right? You know, I've put in the hard work. It's reflecting that I've put in the hard work, and it's okay for people to appreciate the hard work that I put in, and it results in something beautiful, right? I don't know. What about you, Marcy?
I had 2 or 3 different thoughts go through my mind. The first one was that it really depends on the person who is saying it for me. So, let's say it was a parent that, you know, was the one that put me in the cult. It is really hard for me to hear praise from them because I do, like you said, attribute it to what they're supposed to be saying instead of what they actually mean, because that was the whole culture, right? So I still can't believe a lot of things that come out of people that are still in it.
Right.
So it's a lot easier for me to hear and believe other people now out that would be coming from a perspective that don't have any of that background, and they are being, you know, they don't have any of that rhetoric, and so they're being truthful. And second was that somebody, I don't even remember where this came from, but I watched something or read something that said, don't assume, don't try to read into or guess what other people are trying to say outside of their words. Like, you just take their word at their word. So if they're saying, "I really am proud of you, that was really amazing," then just take them at their word and don't go any further than that. Because where my brain goes, it goes like, you know, 100 miles down that road of
Questioning their motives
or what they're trying to say, or what did I do, or do they really mean it, or whatever. And so I found it helpful that when that happens, that if I just say, stop my brain at, "Oh, thank you," that's it. Just, "Oh, thanks," and then stop my brain from going any further, and that helps too. So
Right, definitely. So I wanted to welcome Dave here. Dave is a friend that I met on TikTok, and he does some Saturday night religious trauma discussions on TikTok. So if you aren't following him on TikTok, go ahead and look him up. It's oh my gosh, what is his name? Sacred Scars on TikTok.
Hi, Dave.
So glad you are here. And we're just talking about the word pride and how it's June and it's Pride Month. And a lot of us have joined the LGBTQIA plus. I have to almost sing it so I don't get tongue-tied. And how that word has morphed into like a different meaning for us today outside of the cult. Oh, hopefully we can still hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you even better now.
Okay.
Oh no.
I don't know what's happening.
We've had some technical difficulties tonight. It has been, oh no, what's going on?
Okay. I don't
All right.
know. I'm going to be very, very still.
It's been a while since we've done a live, so we haven't worked out all the kinks.
The kinks are on my end. I'm not tech savvy at all.
Yeah. Are y'all seeing Marcy now? Because I can see her. Marcy has a glitch.
Oh yes.
I'm glitching in the matrix.
Yes. I probably got too close to the phone. You know, the electromagnetic whatever is like reacting.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right. So we talked about pride and how it can be hard to hear it. It can be hard to say it. It can be hard to believe people when they say that they're proud of you or that you've accomplished something. We've talked about how it is really tied to our self-esteem and how we had to deflect the praise and give it to God and Jesus when we were in the cult, and how that made us feel like unworthy. We've talked about that. We talked about how it ties into like you're thinking of not trusting yourself or others when they say things, and I mean, it really just ties into so much, that whole thing. So I wanted to read the actual definition. I was listening to Cult Chronicles, and she was talking about how like the character qualities, like were so messed up. Like the definitions of each of those characters weren't the actual like Webster's definition of the character qualities that, and so I kind of wanted to just like read the Webster's dictionary definition of pride, because sometimes like having the actual definition instead of it being filtered through the Bible or some kind of preacher's definition of it can help us kind of unlock stuff in our brains. So, from the dictionary, the noun meaning a feeling of deep pleasure or satisfaction derived from one's own achievements, the achievements of those with whom one is closely associated, or from qualities or possessions that are wildly admired. And then consciousness of one's own dignity, which is, that's why it's tied into self-esteem, because it's being proud of yourself is tied to your dignity. And then the verb being especially proud of a particular quality or skill.
Nice.
So, yeah. Michelle says it always made me feel unworthy and invisible, as well as not believing people when they said it. I mean, I had to list the IBLP definitions and the dictionary definitions on my character studies. Did you? So do you recall like anything specifically being like vastly different from the definitions between the IBLP definitions and the actual dictionary definitions? I'm curious.
Me too. Because we had to memorize all those character qualities. My mom designed a game so that we could learn them all. So we memorized all of them.
So did y'all ever look up the actual definitions, Marcy, that you remember?
No.
Okay.
No.
Just
I don't.
took it at face value like everything else in IBLP, right?
It was straight out of the wisdom booklet.
Right into the brain.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And I was like, you know what? That's a really good idea. Like whenever we talk about specific words or any particular topics, just busting out the dictionary and figuring out what the true meaning of it was. God's way. God's way. You mean Gothard's way.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
definitely not God's way. I think while we're waiting for the response, another thing that helped me was that, and this is coming from this perspective of still being tied to the church a little bit, was that God consistently told me that he was proud of me. And God was never okay with us. We were always awful. He was always going to strike us with lightning. He was always going to do something terrible to us if we didn't stay in line. And I didn't ever think anybody was proud of me because of that, because I was such a terrible, horrible, sinful person. And that was another part of it, was that I kept hearing, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. You are doing a great job. I'm proud of you. And that was another half of it for me.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mhm.
So when you were a kid, or
as an adult, like especially right after I came out of the abuse from the ex-husband and was rebuilding kind of who I was, and because I had started rebuilding before, and then that ended during that 7-year thing, and then afterwards I started rebuilding myself as a person, and what do I actually think, and who is actually me, and what do I have to be proud of for me, and kind of rebuilding my whole view of myself and self-esteem and stuff. And so that was a really huge part of my self-esteem building, was that he was proud of me too. And it wasn't through church, because I wasn't going to church. I might have gone to church maybe once a month max. It was through songs. It was through things that people said to me. It was through things I read. It was other avenues. It was not in the church, because I haven't consistently been in church except for maybe the last year and a half or two. So any other time, it's just random that we would go.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's a good, I honestly, like, I can't ever really remember like hearing God.
mm-hmm.
So I always would attribute my own thoughts and my own inner dialogue to God.
Mm-hmm.
But as I stepped away and looked at it, I'm like, that was just my inner dialogue, because I still have it and I'm away from it. And I have to fight some of that inner dialogue because it's conditioned to the old thinking,
yes. Mm-hmm. And I think that totally depends on your personality too, because, and I've kind of learned this about myself and others after coming out of the cult and stuff, is that some people are more sensitive to the feeling or the thought or the Holy Spirit movement, whatever you want to call it. And others are more logical, and God teaches them in different ways. So if that's not happening to you, that's okay. That's just you. But for me, I'm very empathic and very attuned. And so that's just how he chose to teach me, particularly through stories or music. That's his avenue. But it doesn't happen that way for everyone. That's just because of probably my sensory stuff and ADHD and just who I am. It's been that way since I was a child. So
yeah, and I think I mean, we've talked about it before. Like you're a really sensitive empath, right? Like
very,
and
very.
you pick up on things that other people wouldn't. And
and
I'm an empath to a point, but I also have a hard time reading people. So my abilities stop at being able to read someone. The more I know somebody, the more empathic I can be towards them. But a complete stranger, I might get a feeling, but sometimes I don't know what it means.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's the same for me. But sometimes I don't know I know it's good or bad, but I don't know I don't know why. But yeah, so I don't want anybody to take that to mean, you should be doing this. No, it's just, that's not at all it. But it just happens
to her. She doesn't ask for it.
No, there are some things that happen to me along those lines that I don't like. I'm way too sensitive to things, and it can get distressing.
Right. It can very be overwhelming. Michelle wanted to say thank you for sharing that thing about it was after you had shared about God being proud of you and hearing that from him. So she wanted to thank you for saying that.
Oh, okay.
So I love Michelle. You are such a good fan, a OG fan. I love that you're here. Oh my gosh, the support. I mean, I just really, I know it's kind of out of the blue, and I just really, really am thankful for the people who show up for us, even if it's on replay or on the podcast or whatever, because we have been kind of non-existent for a while.
Yes. Life has had its ups and downs, roller coaster. Yes. It's hard to make time for sure.
Oh, she said it happens to me too, but I also think it's a specific person thing. Haha.
Oh, yeah, it could be that too. Yeah, it can.
Dee, where else would I be? Oh my God, I love you. So kind of a little life update now that, if there's anything in particular you want to talk, anybody that is here, if there's any questions you have about Pride and what we were taught, how we feel about it now that we haven't covered, give us some questions to answer. But I am finally starting to feel better. I know. It has been a really tough year for me. So, in case you don't know and you haven't seen any of the updates, April a year ago, I was in physical therapy and he did a maneuver to try and straighten my pelvis out. And I have been suffering with extreme pelvic pain, hips. It was to the point where I couldn't even walk to get myself a glass of water. We've had to move because our house is a 2-story house and I couldn't go up and down the stairs. I thankfully got a job that is way less stressful, which is helping me. I've had MRIs and injections and physical therapy and seen the rheumatologist and had test after test after test. And the consensus is it's probably fibromyalgia. And I haven't gotten any other explanation for what I'm feeling. And I've tried to manage it with pharmaceuticals and supplements as best as I can. I'm improving very slowly. I am still not back to baseline, but I don't feel like I was run over by a train. So I have the ability to walk around the house, do a few chores here and there. I started trying to plant trees and I overdid it and I had to take a couple days off, and I go around going, I wish I could, I wish I could, I wish I could, I can't, don't do it, you're gonna hurt yourself. So there's a lot of trying to balance what I can do and what I want to do, which is a mental gymnastics party in my brain.
Mental gymnastics party. I like that quote.
If you ever want to know what it's like in my brain, it's a mental gymnastics party. With no rhyme or reason. It's just every gymnastics person you've ever seen on the TV all at once doing all the things.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Michelle. She says, yay, so glad you're feeling better. So, it's progress. It's not perfection, right?
Right. That's all we can hope out of life, right? Progress, not perfection.
Yeah. So is there any updates you want to share with everybody, Mercy?
Oh, it's just been, so I talked about the child that I have on the spectrum. So that was a whole thing getting that. So that's been our last year, has been trying to manage symptoms and get a diagnosis and look into ways of helping her with that, and to maybe lessen some meltdowns that were happening. Those were kind of controlling life for a while, and work because I have the daycare here. So, and then in response to that, I kind of downsized my the amount of kids that I do at daycare and stuff like that. So we've really had to we had a very wide circle and we were doing a lot of things, and we really had to bring all of that back down to a very small circle so that I can manage, so that she can manage, so work doesn't suffer as much. I was also having health problems, very similar to these, not the back stuff, but more along the lines of fibromyalgia symptoms, just or immuno deficiencies, and we couldn't figure it out either. They couldn't figure me out. Everything looked normal on my blood test. They couldn't figure it out. They don't know what to do. they gave me some really crazy options, which I said, don't think that's going to help. And I think I'll try supplements instead. So I've kind of been working through my own health issues too. I think, honestly, and I know a lot of people that have come out of the cult that have struggled with these same issues, like just the fatigue and the brain fog and the different symptoms that go along with fibromyalgia, or just all those I'm losing the word. Autoimmune diseases. Yes. I think that just the level of stress that we lived through for so long, and that high cortisol levels that we lived through for so long, it takes their toll, and then they come out, once we've left, or once we get old enough that our bodies can't do it anymore. So that's kind of been what we've been doing, is we've just been wading through some medical stuff too, and some business stuff. So we've hit a good stride this summer. So we're kind of taking it easy this summer and having an easier summer. I watched 2 babies, my nephews, which we love. So that gave us an easier time of it this summer. So we're happy and thriving, and hopefully this school year will be easier. River, or my youngest one, she has a hard time with school. So that was another thing, was I was having to homeschool at home. And so
that on top of a daycare. Oh my gosh.
Almost impossible. Almost impossible with a child on the spectrum.
I can only, right? I mean, not only schooling at home with a daycare, but someone on the spectrum. I mean, that's a lot. Yes. That's a lot for anybody.
Yeah.
Michelle said fibromyalgia is a wild thing. I think it's what I have too. I'm glad you're finding answers. I've heard it's really common for trauma survivors to get fibromyalgia or other things.
Yes.
Can we get whoever does the research things on autoimmune diseases to do a study on IBLP survivors? I volunteer as tribute.
Yes. Volunteer as tribute. That's awesome.
I mean, I know, like Thriving Forward, Emily, she has a pretty extensive amount of autoimmune diseases. She has lupus and some other stuff, and she's had to do some very expensive therapies, and I mean, I can't even imagine dealing with that amount of sickness. My youngest sister has MCAS and POTS, and she's allergic to chlorine. And so there's only one brand of water she's able to drink. Like tonight, she has tablets to take the chlorine out of the water. So I'm at my mom's house staying with her, just in case she has any medical emergency, someone's here, right? And so I was like, okay, you need to do your dishes. You're freaking out about even having the chlorine particles in the air because you've noticed it's affecting you. Because sometimes when she has triggers and the mast cells are crazy, like she'll get even more sensitive than she normally is. So I was like, you go in mom's house, I'll go in your apartment, I'll run the water, I'll put the tab in, I'll soak your dishes so you can get your dishes washed, So it's like just trying to find things to work around her issues. And then when you're sick and you're not feeling well, you can't make the decisions on how to get around the obstacles. And that was one of my things that I experienced when I was not a single mom, but when I was an early mom in the midst of trauma, is I couldn't find my way around a solution that wouldn't cause more problems, that I could physically and mentally work with. And, it's like the decision fatigue. It's like like her washing her hands is a decision fatigue thing because it causes her physical harm to do it unless she goes through multiple steps most people don't have to do just to wash your hands,
Yeah, such small pieces that people take for granted, like washing your dishes or washing your hands, that could trigger you. I was thinking, oh no, I lost the thought. Anyway, continue. I will pull it back up, and then ADHD that out of the air. Yep,
I know. Sometimes I'm like, I think I need a notepad to just write a keyword.
I do. Oh, I know what it was. It was about ADHD. So with the learning about my daughter's issues, and that made me look at myself more, because I was learning about hers, and it made me kind of put a focus. Okay, so where did this come from? And hey, a lot of this applies to me too. And a lot of it applies to my childhood. And a lot of it applies to, the family structure. And so a lot of the shame that I felt as a kid and in the cult that I attributed to all of that, this gave another facet to view it from. So I was undiagnosed for years and years and years. And those things weren't within my control. So all those things that I felt shame for all those years that I thought I should have had control over and the cult was telling me that I was evil for, I had no control over those. It was literally a brain wiring thing that was wrong. Like I couldn't have done it if I had tried hard enough.
It wasn't for lack of wanting to. It
no,
wasn't
or for the lack of trying.
Correct. It was that you literally were not designed to do it that way.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And so that was the thing, was that, and then the autoimmune stuff that now it's coming back to haunt us. And I know it's affected. I have many friends that have had these same things in varying degrees of severity, like as bad as your sister or as mild as just, IBS or, things that are easily taken care of with, supplements at home. So.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like that. I really need to read that book. I really need to read the book, The Body Keeps the Score, because I know I know it's associated with trauma and feeling the trauma, even when you're not aware of it. Right. Like I know some of it, that's what body keeping score is, but it's also, I think also, and it may not address it in the book, but I really think that the chronic illnesses that some of us is because the body has kept the score and the body has been fatigued beyond its ability to handle the trauma that we went through.
Now, I heard somewhere, I saw a video or something about the body keeping the score to make sure it's fact checked what's in the book. Now, I've never read it. I don't know anything about it, but they were saying to fact check some of the stuff in it. So just when you're reading it, do your research, because I think that they tied some wrong conclusions together in it. And I don't remember what they said it was. That was something that I had heard. And so
thank you for sharing that, because we don't need any more bad information. And we don't need to promote anybody doing bad information.
Read it carefully. That was just one video, and I don't know who they were or why they were saying it. Like that could also be
the memory's gone, but you remember the key point.
Yes. Be careful when reading that book.
Michelle says, yes, me too. Like how I got in trouble every day for not showing attentiveness, but I had inattentive ADHD, right?
Yeah, that was me too. Or while I was making loud noises or moving around, my dad would yell at me all the time for that. Yeah.
Okay, so Michelle says she's heard that too about the body keeps the score. Her psychiatrist said to be careful. So, okay. Read it with a grain of salt and do your research and verify. Trust, but verify. Verify. And maybe not trust so willingly.
Yes. Which we know from the cult, right? We don't trust as willingly as we used to.
Sometimes I think that it's insane, because I've wanted to read that book for years and I just never done it. And now hearing that, sometimes I go, something in my brain was telling me not to read it yet, and it's like, I feel like sometimes my brain knows what I can and cannot handle and keeps me from doing things that are going to cause me harm sometimes without me even knowing it. Or I'm just lazy. One of the two.
Or just have a lot on your plate. I mean,
that too.
I just don't have a lot of time to read anything.
Can't process any more information. Oh, speaking of reading, I am going to try sometime this summer to read the book by Tia Levings, A Well-Trained Wife. I read the first part of it and I was like, whew.
Take it in bite-sized pieces?
I think so. It's definitely very heavy on descriptors. Especially in that, I haven't read all of it. It is well written so far. But it definitely goes into some detail. So if you are a survivor of DV, I would use caution when reading it. I do believe it's supposed to officially come out in August, but you can pre-order it. And if it's not too heavy, or we may just skim over some lighter parts, we will do some type of review on it, because she did give me access to it pre-sale to be able to review it. So we're going to definitely touch on it somehow.
Okay.
So
Excellent. I'm excited
You're
to
not-
see it.
you're not lazy, you have ADHD. I know.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. That realization, and I've not been diagnosed yet. I've started the process, but wasn't able to complete it because of work responsibilities. But he pretty much said, "Oh yeah, you just need to take the test so I can give you this piece of paper." So, and he also knows my family history, so from a different sibling.
Yeah.
So yeah, so he was like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah.
He also said, "Do you think maybe you're on the spectrum?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, maybe." I don't know. I think that there's probably some serious level possibility on that one too. But
And I know you had been thinking about it before you came and visited me, but this all stemmed from
Yes.
the Sin and Debauchery tour.
yes, it was. Yes, it did. You were the first one that really put it in my mind.
Okay.
That was a possibility. I had been kind of contemplating it, but not in a serious way. And when you said it and confirmed it, I was like, oh, maybe I should. And I don't know why it stuck.
Do
but
something
it did.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it stuck. It did. So thank you for that.
It sounds very familiar.
That helped a lot.
Familiar.
That helped a lot, because then I just did some really serious thinking about it, about childhood and about how I function now. Also, I think that they say that when you're a child and you have an emptier cup, or a young adult or whatever, and have an emptier cup, it's easier for you to mask. And now that I have a business and I'm a mom and married again, and all of those things, all those responsibilities kind of made that cup overflow and made me realize that I wasn't handling things in the way that I should have been. I haven't been in handling them for a long time, but it made it more
Prevalent.
yes, it kind of shut
Easy
life
to
down.
see. Yeah.
Yes. So I really wasn't functioning. So that was also the other thing to that. And I forget what my point was on the other. I had a point, but I don't remember now. So
It's okay. It'll come back. It'll
come
come back around.
Yeah. So anyway.
Sin and Debauchery tour. So
Yes.
when was it 2 years ago now?
Was it?
I don't know. It wasn't last August, right? When did y'all get married?
We got married a year ago in March.
So it was the August before that, because y'all weren't married. So it's
we were not.
It was.
We were not.
This
Yes,
August will be
because it was right before Hogwarts. Yes.
Yep, it'll
Yes.
be 2 years this August
Oh my
since Marcy
gosh.
came to see me.
Crazy.
Yeah, so we when she came to visit me, and there's some videos on YouTube and on TikTok from our Sin and Debauchery tour, because when she was coming down to New Orleans, her mom's like, "There's just Sin and Debauchery down there. You better be safe."
Yes, it's a terrible place. She didn't say a terrible place, but yeah.
Yeah, that was the implication.
That was the implication. Which we both had a good laugh over.
We did. And then I brought her to get some drive-through daiquiris.
And it was awesome.
Oh my gosh, when life gets less hectic, we're going to have to do it again, or I'm going to have to come to you, not in tornado season.
Yes, not in tornado season. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Is everybody okay in your area? Have y'all had any tornadoes?
Okay. No, we had some bad storms, but nothing serious all around us, like north of us and south of us, but not in the Tulsa area.
I'm so glad y'all are good. I was like, every time there's a tornado, I'm like, she'll message me if her house gets blown away.
Yes. And here it's so normal, like the storms are so normal that we're like, oh, let's go stand on the porch and watch. I mean, when
That's what we do with hurricanes.
Yeah. So it wasn't a tornado, but it was a windstorm that had like serious level winds, and it blew all of our electricity out for 3 weeks, or 2 or 3 weeks. I forget how long it was, but it was a year ago in June. Mm-hmm. It was over Father's Day, so it was almost a year ago. And
I remember that.
The whole town was without power. So when it was blowing in, we stood out on the front porch until it was blowing too hard to stand in it, and then went back inside. like, whoa, look at the transformers! Like, whoa, that's like some amazing lights. You know, like we just don't take him seriously much anymore.
No, not until you can't stand straight. Then it's serious.
Then we go inside. It's
my hail on us, you know?
Michelle says we need to go to Canada. They're sending debauchery there.
Yes.
We should so do that. Oh
We
my
should
God.
so do
one
that.
day.
Do a trio recording. That would be fun.
Oh my God, that would be amazing. Oh my goodness. So does Canada do Pride in June as well, Michelle? I mean, I know like a lot of America. I mean, it's in America. I don't even know what other countries, like if it's all the
I don't know
same month.
either.
Because June Pride Month would be so awesome to go visit. My son went to Pride in New Orleans this year for the first time, and he was like, it was so amazing. Yeah, they have rainbows all year round. So yes, we do Pride big. Awesome.
Awesome.
Oh man. Well, I'm tired and my hips are starting to hurt. So, if there are no more questions about Pride Month, LGBTQIA plus, because if I don't sing it, I can't say it. And just how the word pride in and of itself was, tied to our cult teachings. If y'all don't have any more questions, I think we're gonna wrap it up for the night. Excuse me. Oh, it's been a while since I've done this. My throat's like, what are you doing?
Let's try.
So going forward, I'm not sure if we're going to have a schedule or not, but I think Marcy and I will talk about at least doing the monthly lives like we had been doing before, just to kind of keep us that's so weird how it does that. I want a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. For those of you who are listening on the replay and can't see because it's on Apple or Spotify, there was this thumbs up feature in the program, and she put her thumb up and it won't do it for me. Doesn't like me. I'm sad. Anyway, so we'll try to give you more forewarning so y'all can be here and hang out with us and comment in the future, but no promises because I am consistently inconsistent because ADHD.
Ditto.
And life be crazy, yo.
And life be crazy. Never know what those kids are gonna pull.
Oh my gosh, yes. With that being said, we thank you so much for being here, and we hope to see you next time. And if someone has not told you lately, we are proud of you and we love you. And y'all have a great night. Bye.
Bye.
Let me see. I gotta do the outro too. Was that yep, that's the one.